The topic is Brown versus the Board of Education and segregation and the Civil Rights Movement. And we have with us to talk about segregation and the Civil Rights Movement in the context of the Brown decision of 1954, Dr. Revis Mitchell from Fisk University. And of course, Dr. Mitchell, let's see if we can start this second segment by having you to give us some kind of graphic information relative to the separation of the races. I think we've talked about it from the point of view of Plessy and law and et cetera, but having grown up in the southern parts of the United States, talk about it from that perspective.
Especially in the South, but throughout the country. The great hope that the Civil War would end the second-class status for African Americans. But unfortunately, when the Civil War ended, racism, as we know it, becomes ingrained, especially in the South, but throughout the country. The great advantage that had been given to whites being free was now transposed to the fact that you're white. So black people, African Americans, were in a second-class mode. We couldn't break out of it. We had served valiantly in the Civil War. We had attempted after the war to go to work to gain our admission into the American system. World War I comes about after Plessy, 1896. But World War I, we fight valiantly. We go over. We hope that we will be, again, ingrained within the American system. But what happens? African-American soldiers return. Several of them are lynched in uniform. You have the famous Red Summer, 1919, after the war, where African-Americans in Chicago are stoned when they drift across a line, black water, white water, or colored water, white water. Young boys are stoned. In Texas, young soldiers are lynched in their uniforms. So America begins to reinforce separation and race and second-class citizenship for African Americans. You know, Dr. Haney, I think the real turning point was World War II, though. The generation of the baby boomers' fathers, my father, your father, and others, they go and they fight. They come back, and they understand they want to make the promise of America real for all Americans. In post-World War II, the GI Bill, chances for education, people aren't willing to accept, black people are willing to accept inherent segregation and inferiority. So in the case of Linda Brown, her father, he wants better for his children than he had. He believes that in a segregated school system, that black children are going to receive a second-class education. He asked the question, why should I pay taxes? Why should I pay first-class taxes and my children receive a second-class education? So he challenges the American system. He challenges Plessy versus Ferguson, the whole idea of separate but equal. In a landmark decision, this case will reach the Supreme Court. And as a professor, you teach, and we're all well, and some of us are well, not every case makes it to the Supreme Court, but this would be a landmark decision. The court looks at it, the court hears the case, and the court decides that in America, you can't have people separated out by race. You might separate them out by other entities, but not by race. And to have a whole class of people cast in the second-class status because of their race is found to be unconstitutional. In this country, when we say something is unconstitutional, that means it goes against the American Constitution. So in a larger sense, it's really un-American. It doesn't fit the ideals that we put forth as American values and American ideals. And African Americans weighed in. First, it's Brown, it's education, and many see the Brown decision as the beginnings, or one of the beginnings of the modern civil rights movement.